Good morning, Toufic. Great to have you with us this morning.
Thank you.
Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen. So with this session, we'll actually explore the challenges the built environment faces. We'll touch on the potential as well as the realized impact of digital transformation, as well as look at some great examples of innovation, as well as trends. So before we get into it though, Toufic, can I ask you for maybe a little bit of what you've been doing at Autodesk for the last few years?
Thank you, Jason. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to connect with everybody here today as well. So a little bit about myself. I look after strategic business development and alliances at Autodesk Middle East. And my mission is to pretty much enable innovators, designers, makers, creators to harness the power of technology so that they improve the workflows, so that teams become more efficient, and so they have much more fun as well designing and building.
And I think Autodesk has been quite successful in the region, and as Paul mentioned earlier in the day, you've actually established a lot of partnerships with media companies, including CPI Trade Media, but also with some of the partners that you work with in the industry. And most recently, I think you guys had commissioned a design and make market report, and you'd asked a partner to conduct research in terms of what keeps the AECO executives up at night. So could you maybe share some insights on that?
Sure. I mean, this will answer the question as well of the gentleman who wanted to start a bottom-up approach. So we've commissioned this State of Design and Make report, and we've done this through a global research and insight firm called Ipsos. It targets the leaders in the AECO, manufacturing, media entertainment industries that actually design places, objects, and experiences all over the world. 2,600 plus executives were interviewed, and the objective of the study is to figure out what are the drivers that are shaping their decisions. So 3 main themes appeared. The first theme is business resilience. How can they adapt to all the changes that is happening? And just a comment here, maybe to also some of the previous panelists, almost 80% of these leaders said, our future growth is going to depend on digital transformation and innovation. So think about it as business resilience through digital transformation and innovation. The second one, it was mentioned by Sami as well, and the panelist, is talent. How do you attract talent, retain talent? I mean, one of the points that was made is, how do we attract the young generation in the first place to come into the AECO industry? And the last theme was sustainability. So there's a lot of focus on sustainability in the Gulf and Middle East, but worldwide, sustainability has been key as a business driver as well.
And I'd mentioned in my opening address that this is the year of sustainability, and obviously the UAE is hosting COP28 quite soon. Do you feel that sustainability will take a more prominent role in terms of enabling digital transformation in the industry?
So when people think about sustainability, we talk about the UN SDGs, the Sustainability Development Goals. But what we're seeing in the market, specifically from an AECO perspective, is we're getting a lot of questions from decision makers. How can we include sustainability as part of our strategy? How can sustainability become a competitive advantage to us in the AECO industry? I just want to take a moment to say, I've noticed, for example, there are no plastic bottles today. Thank you. So as Autodesk, we take this topic very seriously. We have our impact report released on a yearly basis. We're a net zero company for the past 3 years, and we monitor greenhouse gas emissions in a very intricate manner. So you've mentioned some of the national vision sustainability drivers, but take, for example, the Dubai Department of Economy and Tourism. They've released the Dubai Sustainability Stamp for Tourism. And we've seen consumers come into some of our customers who are owners, operators, and ask, what are the sustainability standards that you abide by? Some clients, owner, operators are losing business due to this topic. So it's having a big business impact. Green cement, green steel, the partnerships we're hearing about, and green financing through banks. A lot of the audience might not be aware about the importance, or not only the importance, the fact that green financing exists in the UAE and across the Middle East. And one last thing on sustainability, take for example KEO. They have a full-fledged sustainability practice. They enable customers, their own customers, to look at the sustainability strategy more holistically, as Juan just showed. And you see this, sustainability titles across our customers in the AEC world. It's becoming more of a given than something unique.
And we talked about innovation, and like we said, now you've worked with many partners in the industry. Can you give us some insights in terms of how Autodesk is actually enabling innovation through digital transformation with like some real-world examples, if possible?
All right. So in the AECO, manufacturing, media, entertainment, there are some common themes. They've been mentioned by the panel members as well. From the concept stage to the design stage to the construction to the delivery of a product that can be a building or an actual product, there's a massive amount of data generated. The other point is that collaboration is happening across so many stakeholders. It's not a single builder. There are so many stakeholders. So I want to thank Sami for giving a little bit of an intro of how Autodesk helped the digital transformation journey. So he mentioned back in the 80s through AutoCAD, the shift from paper workflows to CAD. In the early 2000s, by the way, Autodesk enabled customers to make the shift to intelligent 3D and digital prototyping. Now, recently, it's the move to cloud. And what we're looking at in terms of innovation today is becoming a platform company. So just a little bit about what we mean by a platform company. It's been addressed by the pain points on the previous panel. How do you have a cloud-connected, integrated, common data experience where an Autodesk customer has data, teams, processes, workflows, and technology all together? So the right data for the right people at the right place. How can that platform help with insight? And finally, how can that platform help through automation and generative AI? So this is where we're heading into, about connecting everything in one place.
So can we then say that cloud will be the unifying concept that everyone, like the previous panel we were talking about, silos and different software not being connected with each other. Is cloud that solution that we're all looking for, or the next generation of cloud?
All right. So there were a couple of comments made by the previous panel, and I just want to say customers have a choice. Let me repeat this. Customers have a choice. If you have a decision maker, whether it's cloud, whether it's BIM, whether it's any technological form, who doesn't see the link between what's the benefit of using this technology and can I use it to predict outcomes better, to mitigate risks, to reduce rework on site, to deliver projects with a better quality. If that link is not there, even if the gentleman who mentioned bottom-up approach, you're going to have a struggle there. However, the good news is we're seeing this change. So, couple of examples in terms of how the customer mindset is changing in the market. They're not asking for cloud. Cloud might be a point solution. Owners, operators are coming back to Autodesk and saying, how can we have a full life cycle project management system that integrates with other areas, that has a CDE component? How can we digitize the assets? Pretty much a solution for that would be what Juan presented. When it comes to engineering consultants, they're asking a very different question. How can we become more competitive and profitable and innovative in the market? So it's a business outcome discussion versus a technology discussion. When it comes to contractors, How can we digitize the site? How can we, as you mentioned in your opening speech, ensure that there's more safety, less rework, become more sustainable in what we deliver? So I think asking the right question here would be key versus just saying cloud or BIM or any other technology on its own.
And, so it's obvious there's a little bit of a disconnect there between what's being asked and what's actually should be asked. How can Autodesk, or how can, all of us in the industry kind of provoke the right sort of discussions and maybe even extend that down to, I think the first panel also touched on, a talent gap and engaging with schools and universities. So are we doing enough there, and what more can we do?
So the short answer is we can never do enough, okay? However, I'll tell you what we are doing. When we speak about automation, adoption of technology, and talent, retaining, attracting resources is key. And at least from an Autodesk perspective, we've been working with ministries of education across the Gulf region with the idea of how do we include AI, generative AI, in the curricula, not only of university students, but of students who are still in schools. So as of today, similar to the software that actually delivers some of the biggest commercial projects, whether it's Museum of the Future or Expo, students have access to that software. And the educators of these students are also kind of getting into how do we enable that human-centric design thought at an early stage.
And based on the questions that are being asked now and the report that we had mentioned earlier, how do you actually see AECO customers evolving in terms of digital transformation in the next few years?
All right. So there's the question of, can we wait and evolve? And the answer to that question is, you're driving down Sheikh Zayed Road. Everybody's driving in the same direction. You have different gears. Level 1, level 2, level 500, you don't have the reverse button. So in terms of the market, if you look at the national strategies and the country-level visions that are there, they're exerting a massive amount of pressure on constructors, design and make companies to deliver better quality, better time, better cost. And to deliver this it could be, again, a technology or it could be a platform, but it's an enabler or a catalyst to be able to deliver that. So I just want to start by mentioning that there is that pressure there, and we always associate innovation with entrepreneurship. But look at the examples of the Giga projects in Saudi. Whether it's Russian, whether it's Red Sea, which was mentioned multiple times, whether it's Al-Ula. The structures they have in place, the digital delivery teams they have in place, that's massive. And Jason, on this topic, on how customers are changing, I'm going to ask you a question. Let's say you take a nap 10 years ago, and you wake up today, and you say, you know what? The first thing I'm going to do is come to the Digital Construction Summit. So you meet some of the colleagues here. Digital delivery lead, computational design lead. These are just some of the ladies and guys I just met today. I'm not sure what this title means. Asset delivery lead. I'd love if somebody can tell me what that is. Digital twin, smart city lead. So there's a massive change that's happening, and to a certain extent, it shows that, again, decision makers and the rest of the organization are seeing the link between digital transformation as a theme and the business outcomes, the positive business outcomes, even though it's not perfect.
And looking to the future, linking to AI and automation, how do you kind of see the industry evolving and getting to the stage where it's a lot more automation than we have now? How long do you think we're away from that?
So after seeing Juan's presentation this morning, I would answer this very differently, okay? So I think when we speak about automation, just to look at a couple of things from Autodesk's perspective, you're going to hear the word data a lot. We've heard it in the morning. We're going to hear it in the afternoon. Preserving that data across the project lifecycle is a main either driver or a hampering factor when it comes to automation. AI and machine learning is not new to Autodesk. It's been part of our point product solutions for a long time. However, what we're seeing is how designers and makers interact with AI is going to change. So AI as an assistant in terms of asking AI, here are the parameters, the constraints, and here's the desired outcome. So becoming better in asking the right questions as humans is key. The other part in terms of automation is the benefit in referencing other data sets, and that links to the part on data being more available. You're designing a project in the UAE, and you want to avoid as many mistakes as possible. So you tap into the data set of projects across the world with similar weather, similar geographies. How that helps you is going to be key. So that's a bit about AI, and on the question on when that automation is going to happen, just to reassure you for the time being, you have the 3 A's: automation, augmentation, and analysis. Automation is removing the repetitive tasks. Augmentation is adding more. And then analysis is being able to provide you that insight. But at its core, human creativity is still going to be there. I think it was mentioned on the panel, you can create a very nice image, amazing image on Midjourney. Is it constructible? Is it buildable? You'll need to speak to KEO to make it constructible and buildable. That's the idea there.
So, I mean, we've talked about the benefits, and, you know, that said, there still seem to be the odd industry holdouts who haven't quite embraced digital transformation on a basic level or even, you know, in depth. What do you think is kind of preventing them from taking this step?
All right, so if I listen to Ahmed Balawi from the previous panel, I get this feeling that he's looking for this magic bullet to sort everything out. And he did mention trial and error. We always try to get the blame on something, whether it's technology or the contractor or human nature. But I think it's about the ongoing journey of change. It's not going to happen overnight. There will be trial and error. And in terms of the holdouts, I think that connection between understanding the real benefit of technology, how it links to a pain point, and how can I put a process and system in place to be able to take it forward. Speaking of holdouts, I've been at an event last week, and out of the whole event, it was a lawyer who works in the construction industry who said the two biggest causes of dispute on a project site are client making changes, and the next one is unsubstantiated claims. And the lawyer said a CDE could potentially be a solution to, 1, substantiate the claims, and 2, remove the claims altogether. So this is from somebody who's not a designer and maker from that perspective. So again, it's changing step by step, and the benefit of technology or digital transformation versus the pain point, that link is becoming clearer.
Perfect. And on that point, I'd like to just open up to the audience now for a few questions, as we see we're coming down to the limit for the time. Any questions in the audience?
If I can possibly fire off a quick question for you, Toufic.
Sure.
Can I ask you, if we were to speak to Mercedes-Benz or BMW, they would be able to tell us what the future looks like, because they've already got 10 years worth of vehicles designed in the future. They know what the future will look like. What does the future look like, Toufic? You're the key progenitor of digital tech. What does the future look like? What's next? What are we going to be doing? Because you know the answer. What's next?
So the future would look like next year, next week?
5 years.
Okay.
5 years' time?
So I think I've touched on this point that with the automation that's happening, so when it comes to AI, I think we have to adapt to look at AI from the perspective of a concierge. We have to look at AI as an assistant versus taking over completely. And we have to adapt and become better in asking the right questions to AI and to machine learning. When it comes to data, in terms of the future, I've mentioned that as well in terms of the platform. But the platform and technology alone is going to also be dependent on how we deliver or how we evolve in delivering projects. IDP as a project delivery method is being experimented with across the world and in the Middle East. And the benefits have been formalized, documented, and measured. So this is going to be a key in how we look at data across the project lifecycle. What KO presented or what Alec are doing as a contractor is really cool, really interesting, really impactful for them or maybe for their own customers. But if we look holistically about how do we deliver a project more sustainably, better quality, better on budget and within cost or lower than cost, we have to look at this change in also how we deliver projects.
Yeah.
And the last thing, we've touched on the topic of sustainability. We're not seeing this topic as just sitting in the back seat. This is becoming more and more and more important, and it's becoming a competitive advantage to the designers and makers, contractors who are able to deliver on it, to measure it, benchmark it, and deliver on it.
Okay, very interesting indeed. I can take 3 questions. Our favorite phrase, 3 questions.
Oh, there's someone in the back there.
Please.
Can we get a mic across to the back corner?
Good morning. Morning, Toufic. It's not a question, but it's more of a request to elaborate more on the part of interoperability between softwares. You had the statement of the customer has the right to choose, but the customer also has the right to have interoperability between softwares, which is not happening, or happening to a limit, which rests the foundation for open BIM solutions. So can you please elaborate more on that? Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, sir, can you please introduce yourself briefly and from which organization?
My name is Omar Noor. I'm the BIM manager of Aegis Group, an engineering consultancy.
Thank you, Omar.
Thank you.
So this is a hot topic. I just want to make a statement here. So Omar, your points are extremely valid. Software will never be ready, will never be fully operational. But to your point, what is Autodesk doing to make the life better and easier for the users of the software and the decision makers that also procure the software? So you're familiar with building smart and IFC as an industry standard. That's one piece. The second piece, I think a lot of customers don't know the amount of feedback that is being given to Autodesk and that we have a channel to actually capture that feedback. So for every single product, there's an Autodesk community. And within that community, different stakeholders from the customer side get to vote on what would be the best interoperability requirement from that perspective. So in case anyone in the room is not familiar with that, I highly recommend, I invite you to just go to autodesk.com feedback and provide that insight from your side. But the last piece is more about action. We have a platform called Forge. It's meant specifically for developers. Its name now is Autodesk Platform Services. And it's a hidden secret for the time being, for some reason. However, the idea behind it is to enable developers to be able to have better interoperability with any Autodesk software and other softwares out there. Again, Omar, is it where we needed to be at this stage? No. However, at this time, it's a key focus for Autodesk, and it's called Autodesk Platform Services.
I think another factor, Toufic, here, may I say, is that at the end of the day, you may be a market maker, but you're not in the business of trying to please everybody all the time. You're a commercial entity. So there will always be gaps. There will always be shortfalls in individual client and user preferences. So with Apple, for instance, they'll probably sue me for saying this, but Apple aim to please 64 to 65% of the global community. If you're one of the 36% that don't react intuitively to an Apple product, they couldn't care less. You know, they make the market, but they don't control your preferences. Yeah.
So I think what I want to highlight is that as Autodesk, we want to listen. We love listening to our customers, and we want to get that feedback. And there's a channel that exists out there to get that feedback. And number two, you're right, we can't satisfy every single requirement out there. And this is why Autodesk Platform Services offers that capability to anyone. Maybe you don't like a specific functionality. Maybe you want more interoperability. So we're kind of democratizing and giving power to the customers to be able to come in and develop along that platform. Just to give you an example where maybe the issue is, in the room, who's heard of Autodesk Platform Services, just by the raise of hands? Okay, other than the Autodesk team, by the way. So that's the issue. And that's the issue. So we need to get better at highlighting these points.
You seem to have comprehensively answered everybody's queries. Please, a huge round of applause for Toufic and Jason. Thank you so much. Thank you.